My name is Melissa Libbert, and this is my organizational design, structure, and change analysis. For this assignment, I chose to focus on an organization which I worked for previously in Minnesota. It is a charter school called Da Vinci Academy located in Ham Lake and was founded in September of 2008. Da Vinci Academy has a great reputation, and because of this, it grew very rapidly and currently has a student population over 1,000 students. In the school year 2017-2018, it opened up a brand new building that was able to house its growing number of students and staff and is open to grades K through 8. It has received many accolades, including being awarded a reward school 6 years in a row, as well as receiving the Blue Ribbon School Award. Da Vinci Academy has a slogan of cultivating curiosity and igniting excellence, and a mission to awaken a passion of learning in students through an enriched and individualized approach. Although the school overall has created a strong community between parents and students and staff, as well as created a culture of inclusivity, collaboration, supportiveness, and positivity among staff, there's one area that requires improvement. Currently, the number of leaders within the organization is growing at a much faster rate than the student body or the number of staff. This has caused confusion among staff members and new staff members in the leadership team as to what exactly the area of focus should be, along with uncertainty among staff members about who they need to reach out to regarding various needs. When I first entered this organization in 2017, they had 7 members of the leadership team, including an executive director, director of building operations when they entered the new building in the 2017-2018 school year, of course, HR, and director of curriculum and instruction, and so on. When I exited the organization in 2020, the number of leadership members had doubled. This is alarming because in those years that I was a member of this organization, the number of staff grew slightly and the number of the students remained constant. So this um, big growth in the leadership team did not match the growth of the rest of the organization. With having a large number of leaders with very similar job descriptions, it can lead to a variety of potential negative ramifications for the organization. One negative impact that was beginning to happen while I was still with the organization is staff members being unsure who they should consult for various questions, concerns, or clarifications. This led to staff members consulting the wrong member of leadership and the correct member of leadership being unaware of potential problems, necessary insights, or important information. Additionally, this ambiguity allowed for staff members to consult the member of the leadership team, which they found preferable, which led to tension between the members of the leadership team. All of these outcomes are something that I was beginning to witness during the end of my time with this organization and were causing a clear negative impact on the leadership team, which transferred into the staff and, of course, onto the students. In a school, the largest part of the workforce are employees who are well educated, have good moral principles, are licensed, and have a strong set of professional norms. This highly qualified organizational talent is identified as working best with a flexible work structure. However, at this particular organization, there is a centralized organizational structure, meaning that those in charge of decision making and that hold the most power are focused at the higher levels within the organization. This can be seen in the organization from the intense focus on growing the leadership team without having clearly defined objectives or job descriptions and having overlapping job duties within the members of the leadership team. Overall, this created confusion and ambiguity among staff members and ultimately decreased the effectiveness and efficiency within the organization. This organization had a culture among staff of positivity, trust, collaboration, and support. This culture was very strong when I first entered this organization, and in comparison to the organization or school that I had come from, I often felt overwhelmed during my beginning time with Da Vinci at how supported I felt. As my time with the organization went on, and through a change in executive directors, this overwhelming positive culture began to shift. Although the new director was phenomenal with the increased number of leadership members added in the organization, the culture started to shift. Although this culture often felt as though it was perfect, there, of course, were areas that this culture didn't transfer over to. This area was largely among members of the leadership team who believed or perceived that they had a higher power than they actually held within the organization. And this was causing members of the leadership team to continuously step on each other's toes as job descriptions were hazy and overlapped. With insecurities and confusion surrounding the leadership team, there was an increased pressure put on staff members to always consult the right member of the leadership team, even with the overlapping of their duties. This pressure to consult the right leader continued to increase as members of the leadership felt that the other members were crossing the line into their job duties. This pressure led teachers to receive less support and become dissatisfied with how leadership was handling the situation and placing the accountability of all of it onto the teachers for not clearly seeing leadership job duties through all the ambiguity. Additionally, for the first time since the charter school was founded, student test scores were declining, and again, this was placed onto the shoulders of the teachers. This dissatisfaction ultimately led to a high turnover rate, with many teachers leaving the organization um, last year at the time when I also exited for relocation reasons. This was something the organization hadn't experienced previously, as with such a uplifting culture, they often experience teachers staying within the organization for an extended period of time. I believe that Da Vinci Academy is on its way to being a conscious capitalist culture. I think that many members of the leadership team lead through conscious leadership, although they do not all lead through conscious leadership. I think that if we revamp the leadership scenario, it will increase the leader's abilities to lead through conscious leadership. Da Vinci Academy also has a strong stakeholder orientation. Of course, being a charter school, the stakeholders are the students. For example, when students' test scores fell, they were very eager and curious as to why they fell, and they were quickly seeking ways to remedy the situation. Conscious culture is something I think I experienced when I first entered the organization, but was definitely negatively impacted through the quick expansion of the leadership team. I think by again revamping the leadership team, it will help facilitate that conscious culture coming back into the forefront of the organization. My plan for improvement is, although organizational talent is described to work best with a flexible organizational structure, and there are clear benefits to an organic organizational structure, such as increased job satisfaction, it isn't feasible to implement this type of structure into a charter school organization. This is due to the high demands of school organizations, such as dealing with funding, exact minutes of instruction students need from specific employees, scheduling needs, and more. Instead, I think it would be most beneficial to implement a decentralized organizational structure to increase the commitment from the employees and to improve employee retention. This would help to clearly define the roles of those in management, while also place an increased amount of decision-making tasks to the employees. This would help restore the positive culture that was more present at the time I initially joined the organization. To do this, I would plan on creating a flow chart, such as you see, that would clearly outline a hierarchy or flow within the organization. I would also outline when it is necessary to approach a member of leadership and what decisions can be made by the employees themselves. For example, on this flow chart, I have the executive director at the top and all of the directors underneath her. For example, I have the director of curriculum and instruction working closely with the instructional coach and the data coach. If an employee, for example, a classroom teacher, has a concern or question that goes beyond their sphere of control, such as lesson planning, content, and those things, she could approach the data coach or the data coach and the director of curriculum instruction to receive those supports and clarification. Then the director of curriculum and instruction would then transfer those supports and discussions into the to the executive director. Um, this condensed flow chart allows for employees to have much more empowerment on decision making that directly relates to their responsibilities and would clearly outline which member of the leadership team they could go to for which reasons to receive the optimal support. To implement this change, I would use Cotter's 8-step process to change. The first step is to create a sense of urgency, and I think that this was already done with the decline in student test scores and increased employee turnover. There has been an increased sense of urgency among the staff to eliminate the ambiguity within the leadership team and get back to the place that they were. The second step is to build a guiding coalition. To do this, I would create a team within the school of individuals ready to take on this task. This should include team members of the leadership team and employees alike. And during this time, the board of directors would also be made aware of the restructuring of outlined areas within the leadership team. I think that creating a team would be really effective within this Da Vinci culture. Da Vinci often creates teams such as the equity team when they wanted to analyze the equity practices that they were having as an organization. So creating a team is something that this organization already does well, and it fits into their culture. So I think creating a team would be very beneficial and also be a really inviting way to welcome this group of employees. The third step is to form a strategic vision. I would do this by outlining our goal of creating clarity among the areas of focus within the leadership team. And I would express that the goal of creating this clarity is to help support the staff members so that they can better support their students and bring those test scores back up. The fourth step is to enlist a voluntary army. And I would call upon that team that was built in step 2 to do this. We could grow our team, we could do group things, or we could send out employee surveys to continue in the right direction. The fifth step is to enable action by removing barriers. And I think this would be really critical for this organization to help promote employees to make decisions and seek out leadership support when needed without fear or pressure from leadership. I would work closely with the leadership team to encourage the behavior they want to see. And this would be done, this encouragement in the sixth step, generating wins, short-term wins. By encouraging the behaviors we want to see, we would give shout outs and recognition to employees during weekly staff meetings for those who are using the new model as intended, such as a classroom teacher making the decision to stay on a standard for an additional week when her students are struggling. Similarly, to shout out a teacher who seeks assistance from the data coach when she needs support more outside of her realm of control. Moving on to step 7, we would continue to accelerate these efforts and eventually get to step 8, the final step, institute change by making those new behaviors more commonplace, so much so that they replace the old behaviors. Of course, all change has possible challenges. Three possible challenges that I foresee is first, leadership reservations. I think leaders may be resistant to change because it wouldn't be narrowing their span of control. Also, I think there might be employee hesitations. Employees who are close with a certain leader may be resistant to change because it would no longer allow them to go to that leader they are close with, or that they find preferable for whatever problem or concern or question that they have, and would limit them to the leader who is designated in that area, such as going to the behavior director if there is a behavior concern, instead of going to the preferable leader, the director of curriculum and instruction. The third possible challenge I see is distance learning. Of course, distance learning is a new challenge during the pandemic. While many employees are working from home, I think it would be we would need to be very purposeful and intentional about streamlining this new flow of the organizational team and creating time to support staff in this transition and talking out concerns and questions moving forward. Overall, I think that Da Vinci Academy is a great organization, but of course has room for change that would positively impact. The first is empowerment and participation. When I first entered this organization, there was a high level of empowerment among staff, which dwindled over time, which directly affected the participation that the organization was seeing in those groups, such as the equity group. Through the years that I was there, those groups had much lower participation as the empowerment of employees was going down. I think by bringing back that empowerment, it will show employees that the leadership team does trust in their abilities and their decision making, and of course, then drive up that participation. The second thing that I made sure to include was the equity theory. It was clear that many employees did not feel like they were being treated equitable when their coworker was able to go to whatever member of leadership they wanted because they had been there for 10 years and they had strong relationships, where when they approached the leadership team, they were told that they went to the wrong leader or that they could not help them, they need to go see somebody else, and so on. So I think that creating this flow and these clearly defined responsibilities within the leadership team will help promote equity among the employees. Overall, I think Da Vinci Academy has many admirable traits, such as great culture of inclusivity and focusing largely on their number one stakeholders, the students. I think that with the revamp of their leadership team, it will help create a space where all employees feel that they are being treated equitably and that they know clearly what member of leadership they can go to for help and support for various reasons.